Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and taking a look today on Eonan's Edge as I review the QSP Leopard. Let's jump in with some basic specs on this. We've got a 14C28N drop point knife with a full flat grind. We've got full stainless steel liners on both sides machined out. This is a liner lock design with a very, very solid lockup on it. Beautiful, actually, lockup on this one. We've got black micarta scales, and I have to say these are really nice. It's riding on ceramic ball bearings, and you've got a deep carry stainless steel pocket clip in the back. So, quick specs here, 3 inches of usable fine edge from there to the sharpening choil. You've got a scale length of 4.5 inches and a tip to tail length at just over 7 1/4. The weight of this knife on my scale was 2.8 ounces. So let's jump in with some things that I like. The build quality on this knife is excellent. It is just amazing. Like, all the fit and finish work on this knife looks fantastic. The micarta, like I said, is a solid looking. I mean, it really looks super nice. The ergos on the knife are good as well. Again, I have large glove size hands. I can get all 4 fingers on this knife in this rearward position. It feels pretty comfortable in the rearward position. Your thumb sits right there on the spine, which is reasonably thick, but it sits right there on the jimping on the spine. But there's a second position on this knife, which I found I used a lot more, which is basically choking up to what effectively is the flipper tab. So you can see it's jimped all the way across and it's flat. And at first I thought, that's a little weird, right? That's a little strange. But it works beautifully. It doesn't stick up high. It doesn't poke out of the pocket like a lot of flipper tabs do. You can push button it from the top, fires out there every time, or you can kind of, roll it a little bit more, still fires out there every time. You cannot fail this knife. But the great thing about it being flat like it is it gives you this really nice choked up forward position. So then you can very easily get all of your other fingers on there. Get here, you're still plenty far away from the blade. There's that little sharpening choil. And then you can still feel some of this jimping with the back of your thumb, or if you want to move up a lot, you can do that too. But boy, that gives you a really aggressive, nice position for pressing into and cutting through stuff. And I found that's where I preferred to carry this knife, in this position here. So ergonomically, the knife is very good. The other thing that I think is notable on this too, besides the jimping, and I did mention a little earlier, is it's hard to really get a feel for how nice this micarta is, but it's all beveled and textured really, really nice all the way around. They did a great job on this. It's got a little bit of texturing to it. I would say it's more on the smooth side, but man, just feel-wise, it just feels great in your hand. So cannot say enough about the job that QSP has been doing with their micarta on their knives. It is really, really solid looking and really nice. The knife also carried well. I used this mostly as a secondary knife, sort of a backup knife, but I did put it in both pockets just to see how it carried. Carries great. Nothing to get your fingers, caught on as you're putting your hand into the knife. And the clip held up really well. It does have some mushrooms there. It has button head screws, but because it's high and it goes up and then angles down, there's no hot spots or anything else on this. It feels really good and really comfortable, and you don't really notice this clip at all, even though it does ride up a little bit high. Okay, so let's talk about were there issues or dislikes with the knife. I'll say it right up front. If you have really big hands, you probably won't enjoy this knife. Although, like I said, if you're holding it up here in this position, there's a lot of room to get the other 3 fingers on there. Even if you got kind of chunkier hands, you should still be able to get 3 fingers on this knife. But I have large glove size hands. If your hands are bigger than mine, or you have really big, thick fingers, you might find that you don't get enough purchase on this knife, although like I said, there's a 1/4 of an inch here, so I think you might be able to get on that. But again, it is the size category that the knife is in. It is fairly comfortable and fairly ergo for, I would say, large glove size hands and below. Bigger hands, your mileage may vary. And then the other thing that I kind of want to point out, it's not necessarily an issue, but some people that have reviewed this knife don't like the pocket clip because it's angled. Right? It comes into the knife at an angle. I did not find this to be an issue. I found that when I put this in my pocket fairly straight, at least in my right pocket, this kind of just hugged the back edge, the seam of the pocket very nicely. When I put it in the left pocket, I did feel that it was a little bit canted forward because of the angle of the clip, kind of leaning it a little bit like that. But it wasn't anything that was difficult to deal with. The knife carried in both pockets very well. And then the final thing for me, again, great action. The knife has fantastic action. But the final thing for me is satin blade. Because as soon as you take it out and you start cutting with it, or you choke up on it like this, which I did to do some different tasks with, it gets all smudgy and fingerprinted up. And then you got to take your Ionan's Edge logoed microfiber cloth, and you got to wipe the blade down. And I'm just not the biggest fan of having to wipe down blades all the time after I use them. I would have probably liked a bead blasted or a stone washed finish on this knife, but I get it. It's got all beautifully contoured and finished and polished liners and a polished clips, so I understand it. But that is really my only thing, and it's a small thing. I mean, I don't mind it. The knife cuts and works well enough, and it handled all the tasks. The 14C28N steel held up great. I did cut through a ton of cardboard. I've had this knife several months. It's been in and out of my pocket a lot. So cutting-wise, great. I haven't even had to strop this thing yet. So from that perspective, the knife is a winner. Solid blade, steel, beautiful fit and finish, and a great smaller knife for your pocket. This is the QSP Leopard again, folks, all right? So let me do a couple quick size comparisons, and then I will summarize and get you folks on your way for the day. So here's some knives I feel like are in the same size range and price category. The Kaiser Swayback. Now the Swayback comes as both a button lock and a liner lock. So we'll try to get them as close to pivot as we can. And there you can see they are very similar in size, right? The Swayback has a little different feel to it. It's a flipper tab button lock. But remember what I was saying about the flipper tab on this knife being really ergonomic? Look at how little flipper tab, there we go. Look at how little flipper tab sticks up on this knife. It actually is more like that. So this is a great design. I love that they made the flipper tab and incorporated it right into the forward finger placement. That is excellent. But there you go. That kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what that's like next to a Swayback. And then I'm going to throw one other knife in here from Kaiser too that a lot of people like and own. This is the Kaiser Original, also button lock, but you get a feel for where this is. So the Leopard's bigger than the Kaiser Original, and about the same size as the Swayback as far as overall length and thickness. So there you go. Let me summarize real quick. This is an overlooked product in QSP's lineup. It is a great little knife for the size. I believe it's underrated and overlooked as part of the QSP lineup. I really, really enjoy this knife. I like carrying it. It's just a skosh under $49 through Amazon. You can find it through a lot of other knife websites too. I believe I bought this on sale for $46 a few months back. But at this price, with this blade steel, this micarta, and this build quality, this is a super cool little knife. You will not regret purchasing one of these. I highly recommend it. With that being said, that's all I got for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the QSP Leopard. It does come in 3 different colorways, by the way, besides black. Actually 4, because it comes in carbon fiber as well. Comes in a few different colorways. I hope you enjoyed the knife. If you did, hit that like button down there for me. Think about subscribing for future content. I thank you as always for watching, and stay sharp, folks.